Our show is supported by viewers and listeners just like you on patreon.com/SaasHoles. Brent Keltner's Winalytics Revenue Acceleration Playbook Masterclass. In only 8 weeks, help your sales and go-to-market teams start to build the mindset and skills needed to succeed in the new buyer environment. Weeks 1 to 3, read the book and learn a new approach through 20 successful company stories. Week 4, all go-to-market team kickoff and receive self-reflection questions and mindset self-assessment. Weeks 5 to 7, collaborative sessions with prospecting, sales, and customer success on the shared journey to a new mindset. Week 8, all go-to-market team presentation and discussion. Winalytics, build the revenue organization you want. Request a free 60-minute growth consultation at winalytics.com. Ask for Brett and say Big Pete sent you.
Peter, can you hear me all right?
Arnak.
Let me make sure everything is working. All right. Okay.
Look at you working stiffs.
Yeah, it's still dark on the West Coast, just so we're all,
I did ask permission to do that. So remember, Steve?
Yes, you did.
I said, hey, I'm at this conference.
Yes, you
Is it okay at 7:30 in the morning?
Great. All right, why are we doing this?
All right, so I thought today we would argue over pay at risk versus pay everyone their fair share, and I would moderate between Pete, who wants to just pay everyone gobs of money for being who they are, and Steve wants people to earn it.
So basically, this is a debate, right?
This is a debate, yeah.
I don't know, man. The way you phrase it versus what we traded. Look, first of all, you're using.
Whoa! We backpedaling here? What's going on?
No, we're not backpedaling. Look, let's use English though. We're talking about commissions. Let's go.
Hold on, that's wait, guys. We got to dumb it down.
You sound like you're new age with pay at risk versus.
Well, the key word.
You're talking about me.
Yeah, I am talking about you.
Well, here
we're talking about commissions. We're talking about how I get paid.
Bottom line is, Pete is under the understanding that you shouldn't pay people commissions. You should pay them what they're.
Wait, are you making my opening
so
statement?
that they're not worried about?
Hold on, is this?
You go ahead. Yes,
is this
go
a
ahead.
debate or not?
This is a debate. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm trying to help you
so
out.
I don't need any help. I think your homework needs help, and the other 90% of the companies are doing the same stupid shit. All right, look
agreed.
With the of course ability to use ChatGPT to further strengthen my argument, I'm making my case for a salary-based commission model that provides company with greater control. Control is a key word. Reduce volatility and ultimately lower risk. Okay. Yes, I'm reading it off my screen. Let's be clear. If pay at risk models were the best solution for driving, if commission,
you're totally reading this as a script.
It's my opening statement. That's what it is. Teleprompter here. Okay, pay at risk is commission, okay? Keyword is risk. Your risk is at pay, okay? Risk at pay. Maybe we should call it that. If that was the best solution for driving performance, then why don't companies pay 100% commission with unlimited upside? They don't. This is because the more a company relies on commissions, the less control it has over the sales team's priorities. For example, if 60% of pay is salary and 40% is commission, the company only has 60% control of how salespeople prioritize their work. They're incentivized to chase short-term commissions, which may conflict with the company's long-term goals. On the other hand, paying top 5% in salaries, top 5% of the market in salary gives companies full control and sets the expectation that performance is not optional but required. The sales-based model, salespeople are freed from the volatility and stress of commission-based pay, allowing them to focus on long-term relationships and sustainable growth. Steve, you got time to chat GPT yourself. We further incentivize performance by offering discounted equity options with vesting, tying the salesperson's success to the company's future. Company that focuses on commission-heavy models face the hidden cost of turnover, burnout, and inconsistent results. A salary-based model reduces these risks by providing stability, lowering churn, and ensuring consistent long-term performance. It's not about limiting upside, it's about creating a sustainable risk-managed growth environment for both the company and its employees. Keyword risk, risk at pay. Steve.
Wow,
So
that's a
thank you for your
mouthful.
opening statement, ChatGPT.
Yes,
I
Okay,
could have
what's
just
yours
read that.
then?
Next time, just post that and we don't have to listen.
really, exactly. We can just
Well, was there
Steve, go
somebody?
ahead. Your opening statement.
well, my opening statement is first of all, like I
Some,
mean, I don't even know where to start. So I'll just start kind of spewing because companies' long-term goals, especially in the tech, the companies are so freaking mismanaged to start with. The long-term goals of the company, it's crazy to me. Like, in other words, when you start talking about all this, then you got to start talking about products that companies introduce that they don't have any wood behind the arrow, meaning that they haven't put the proper infrastructure, the proper amount of people in development to support it. And we've got heads of sales that only last 19 months. So I don't care how you do the comp pay, you're still going to have exorbitant pressure coming down from management to do the wrong thing relative to the customer's needs and long-term relationship. I'll pause there.
okay, can we make some?
He
We
does
need
have a good point.
I don't know what
Right.
the point was. I think the point should be
Well,
the assumptions in this model. If you're going to make a spreadsheet,
this
that's
is
strong leadership, correct?
this is communism versus the free market.
Well,
I
hold
mean,
on.
who are we kidding? This is like,
Mhm.
well, the company. This assumes that first of all the leaders of the company are good actors and that they wake up every single morning thinking about the altruistic manner in which they're going to treat all their customers in a really, really tight partnership. And they're only going to act in the best interest of their customers. And we know because we see this all the time. And you brought up option pay.
Yeah.
That causes a whole nother set of bad behavior.
Why is that?
Because people know, like I hear it all the time. You see it when people get absorbed. You hear rest and vest. The company, in their infinite wisdom, has given me a bunch of options when they bought my company. And now I don't have to do shit because I'm not motivated. All I have to do is not get fired. I hate working with people who wake up every morning and go, my major goal today is not getting fired because I'm going to make money no matter what. The company is going to pay me no matter what. They don't care how shitty I am at my job.
Should we have some exception?
In fact, I think
Well, hold on.
What's
We,
that?
we,
Jamie,
we,
chime in here.
yeah, David.
what I was going to say is I think the options play comes into battle as well when you're dealing with startup hoppers. What they do is they get options. They get 75% of them vested at one company. They are incentivized to go hop somewhere else and get more options. Why? So that they can play
So
the
it's a
market
vest.
with their
So it's
options
a
and hope one of these startups start.
Yeah, it's like a roulette table where they've got money on six different numbers.
There's no long-term play with the when you're dealing with
Crazy.
startups, what's the long-term goal of the startup is to sell, right? So there's
Yep.
no long-term play on the options, period, end of story. The
what?
options
Wait, hold on.
basically
Why?
once you're there 3 years, go ahead.
Well, hold on. So the objection would be vesting. Is that what you're saying?
That's no, it's one example.
No, the objection is like it's one example, but at around usually options vest over 4 years. And so at around the 3 year mark, reps are and people that have options are kind of incentivized to leave and go find another option plan to start accruing.
So why don't you make
And
it
you
an
could
8 year
use
vesting?
equity B or any of these things to go buy your options
What about 8 year vesting?
because that's not competitive in the marketplace.
It won't
Well,
be
hold
That's
on
not
now.
competitive in the marketplace.
You're paying a market wage that's in the top 5%. They're getting the money.
It assumes the
No,
the other
that's
the other
still
thing
fucking
though
crazy.
that I think the a lot of frontline people view, because I've had this conversation with so many friends, which is regardless of how well I perform as an individual and I contribute to the company, I still don't have control over what the executives do. They can sell off business divisions, they can make poor decisions. People don't really feel like basically you're asking a group. Let's go back to the persona of really, really good salespeople. They're all control freaks. They're all competitive as hell. They want to control their destiny. And so from my perspective, if you go to that kind of if any company goes to that kind of pay model, they're never going to have top reps. They're not going to have the kind of reps that are going to run through walls that are going to make stuff happen. They're not going to have it. You're going to have you're going to have customer success managers selling.
But
And no disregard to
Yeah.
customer success managers, but I've never seen one of them that will do what I'll do to get a deal done.
well, again, we have to have some assumptions here. I mean, the assumption is that if there's a bad actor, you can remove a bad actor. Is that a fair assumption to have in there?
No, it's not a fair assumption.
Okay.
If that were true, look, 90% of everybody in sales leadership that I've ever worked for has been shit. They didn't get removed.
Okay.
They put a system in place. They put an
except for
infrastructure in place.
the current leadership and me, right?
Yeah,
Steve,
that's fine. I mean,
except
look,
for your
I'm talking
current
about
leadership
guys
and me.
on this show. I'm always going to be talking about large companies.
Yeah,
You
fine.
cannot hide
I
at a
know,
small
I know, I
company.
know.
Is
At a
Tesla a large
company,
company? Is CarMax a large company? Is REI a
well,
large
so,
company?
I mean, look, at the end of the day, there's no difference. I've said this I'll keep their names out of it, but when you work at a company that's got more than 100,000 employees, you
Yeah.
might as well be working for the United States government. All the complaints the public has about the government bureaucracy, the government apathy, the government not getting shit done, the government wasting money, all of that's going on at large
It's
companies.
because you feel
Every single thing I outlined is going on at large
okay.
companies.
Well, here, you feel like you don't have control, correct?
At a large company?
Yeah.
No, I'm the outlier. I'm the one that's going to break
Okay,
through this
you're the
shit because,
outlier. Okay.
well, if you look, if I've got the shot to make seven figures, I don't care who I piss off. Let's be blunt. I don't care internally. I'm going to get shit done. I'm going to do it ethically. I'm going to do it morally, but I'm not going to sit on my heels because some asshole up above me is got a cushy job with lots of options and is making seven figures for showing up. Because I dealt with those people for 20 years.
So another assumption is, I mean, who's controlling the company? You have the CEO and the board of directors, so you have to keep going up. It sounds like that person.
When you get to be big, yeah.
Well, let's talk about it because in tech, if you're some of the companies I've worked for, if you're a founder, successful founder, you're controlling the company, not the board. The board reports to you.
If you're a successful founder, you've been kicked out and a new CEO is in.
Not you. I will keep the one that I worked for that's, going to be there till he's 107 years old.
So you don't believe in the Peter principle. I'm just saying,
All right, so back to the work and pay though. Like, let's go through this
risk
assumption.
at pay.
We bring on Steve.
I think
Risk at pay, whatever you want to call it.
Look, I too,
we
John,
bring on Steve Bosset and we say, "Hey, Steve, I'm going to pay you $500,000 guaranteed. What are you going to do?"
I'm still going to
So
work.
you can't
hard.
make any more.
Yes. So let's talk about that. I won't take the job. I had this conversation with one of my bosses at my last big company, and I said, if somebody offered me $400,000 or $500,000 a year for 10 years, I wouldn't sign the contract. And his response to me was, "I know you wouldn't. That's what separates you from me." And he meant that as a compliment to me. Like I would sign. He goes, "I would sign that in a second."
Do you guys
So
invest?
Pete, what would you do?
Well,
You
hold
hit
on.
$500,000.
Well, hold on. If you're an
Hold on, what?
investor, you have a risk profile. Okay. First question I would ask is that 500,000, does that put me in the top 5% of the market for my pay for what I'm doing?
No,
Okay.
it doesn't. But
Okay, then that's
but the second look, the second thing, and I think all top performers are like this in anything, right? If you're an athlete and you're the top receiver in the NFL, you don't want to hear that like what's the average salary. You're like, I'm not the average receiver in the NFL.
no, you want to be in the top 5%.
They want to be in the top, yeah, what
Okay.
1%,
Okay,
right?
top 1%.
Yep.
Okay.
But
Well,
that's a hockey stick. That's a big dollar amount, right? Relative to everybody else.
well,
It's
doesn't
not,
it?
it's almost logarithmic in terms of
All right,
income increase.
Hold on, I don't know
here's
what that
something to
means,
think
but you bring
about,
up
Pete.
the
Here's
NFL.
a
That means
flaw.
you hold on. If you bring up the
Logarithmic means
NFL,
it's a, like a, so, in an earthquake and eight, when you go up every point one on an earthquake, it's 10 times the magnitude. A 7.1 is 10 times stronger than a seven.
I
And so it's a huge multiplier effect.
I'm losing track of your where
My
you
metaphor is an
yeah,
analogy.
okay. If you say NFL, that means you have to have a great general manager that hires a director of scouting and talent acquisition that has to be genius to be able to go out and scout, recruit, and bring these top A players in, right? And once they do perform, they put, the quarterbacks. I've lost track on the quarterbacks, but it's like, hey man, I need to be 50 million or whatever it is. The insert number here. By the way,
Yes.
look at Patrick Mahomes. But
Yep.
if Mahomes is stiffing, then there should be something that says, you know what, you're not producing. We need to adjust the pay.
Let's go back to the goal though. What is the goal? Like
The
when you discuss what do you think you're going to get out of that?
Well, my goal is to have the entire company focused in one direction,
They'll
the
never
good,
do it.
the good of the
It's
company. Well, never, okay.
right,
You're right.
right. That's when you see Democrats hugging Republicans and vice versa, companies will all pull in the same direction. It'll happen at the same exact time.
Well, 9/11 happened, Man on the Moon happened, Pearl Harbor happened. Okay, you can't get a country to get all together in the same
So,
direction.
so we need a catastrophe for a company to behave better.
Well, I think what you need is I'm waiting for your objection that it's too expensive to do it because I'd like to counter with that it's so expensive with this
All
wasted
right,
energy of people trying to game the system because everybody's gambling.
So let's break that down though. For
Yeah,
for starters, on the expense model.
yeah,
So look, 80% of the revenues coming from in an established company, like one of the ones I worked for,
yeah.
got 800 customers driving 80% of the revenue, and they have 30,000 sales reps. So then you do the math and you go, oh, wait a minute, they have multiple reps. Okay, there's 10 reps in each of the 800 accounts. That's 8,000 reps. So if we're going to, the whole thing about compensation and pay for sales, from my perspective, it's not as simple as how you pay people, what you pay them. It's the whole infrastructure.
Well,
So why are companies, and they're most of the ones that are established are at fault for doing this. They have way too many salespeople, way too many,
yep,
chasing and burning resources on accounts that are not going to buy from them. They're not going to. And even some of their top customers, this is the crazy part. A rep goes and does $100 million deal or more at one of those top 800 customers. And then immediately the next year, the management's going, what are you guys going to sell? And it's like, you're not going to sell anything. For 2 to 5 years, they just did a mega deal with you. And so I look at this and I go, okay, and let's go to your kind of salaried model.
yeah.
What ends up happening is in kind of the use case that I just talked about. Somebody does $100 million deal. It's an all you can eat. It's all the technologies that they sell. And then there's a team now in a pure comp model. The customer the rep just kind of says, hey man, I'll help you when you need help in terms of deploying some of this stuff, but I'm not going to bug you about selling something. In the other one, the management's going to go, hey man, we're paying you $500,000 a year. I want you to go into that same account that just did a mega deal, and this is what I want you to do. I want you to try to, we just acquired something or whatever. They're gonna tell them what they want them to do, and it may or may not line up with what the customer wants. And so you talk about control of the reps. Look, the top reps have always acted. There's two things I think. They've always acted in the best interests first of themselves and their customers. And I'll tell you what I mean by this. The top reps, I've seen company after company say, I've got a product that's not selling well, so I'll increase the compensation for this crappy product. And the top reps who want to protect their individual brand will then go to the customers and go, don't buy this. You're going to hear a lot of hullabaloo from my company. They're going to want you to buy this solution. I don't want to be, this isn't going to be memorialized. I'm not putting this in an email. I don't want you to buy this. Why not, Steve? Because the product's a piece of shit. It's failing in 10 different accounts right now. We don't have the muscle to make it work well. I don't want you to buy it. That's how reps are protecting their brand. And in a way, they're acting in a more of a fiduciary responsibility and protecting the company from the management who's telling the reps to do stupid shit that's ultimately going to hurt the company.
Well, compensation's number one role.
I would agree, Pete,
behavior.
and
What behavior do you want to?
But it shouldn't be.
No, compensation is there to drive behavior.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is
what behavior do you want them to do? Why are there 30,000 sales reps? That's the problem that these companies have. There is no rhyme or reason by the number of people that they have out there. So can we put another assumption in there that sales and marketing goes underneath the same cost center?
Can we put an assumption here
before we do that assumption? I don't know why that even matters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, one of the things that really breaks down here, I think, Pete, in this world is you're trusting that we're making the right hires no matter how much we inspect the person.
Yes.
Right. There are great interviewers and there are draw hoppers. If you know what a draw hopper is, draw hoppers, especially in a down economy, what they're doing is they're bouncing around, getting draws, and then they're getting exposed for not doing shit, and they move on to the next one. Now that's a short-term life, meaning that they've probably got 2 or 3 of them in their belt before they get exposed. You look at it, we look at the resume and say, oh, this looks like a draw hopper. Somebody who's bouncing every 6 to 9 months.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time,
can't recruiting
50% of the hires that you make.
What's that?
Why aren't you?
Hold on. I would say
Are there
no
good
matter what you're
recruiters or
doing,
bad recruiters? Are there good inflows?
Both. And there's great interviewers and bad workers in the same person. So you can interview somebody, they could pass with flying colors and all of that.
Okay.
And they will.
How long
they will.
By the way, let me throw this in too, though.
Yeah.
There's also loyalty hires. And I'll tell you what, leadership is the number one violator of this. They hire for loyalty over quality all the time. I want to control the narrative. I want to make sure that my directs, that they're here at my discretion, and they better be loyal. And loyalty of that kind of nature is so damaging to companies.
Why do we let that happen?
Why do we? I don't have any control. It's a human nature.
Have to.
What do you mean you have to? Why? Like
it's human nature.
CEO? Like so nobody's in control?
Look, there's been articles written for one of our shows. I'll see if I can find them. There's almost an arm's length from most companies with regards to sales. In other words, particularly in tech. Let's break it down. You got the development team going, I make great products. Yeah, that's debatable. That's debatable. You got the marketing team going, we do a great job marketing. That's debatable. You got all the rest of the company, going, well, if we're not selling something, it's a sales execution issue, which is crazy to me because nobody takes a deep breath and says, hey, let's break it down. Let's really break this down. Is it really a sales execution issue, or do we have the wrong product in the wrong marketplace? Is it really a sales issue? They'll end up burning through, especially on a mid-sized company, they'll end up burning through 4 or 5 heads of sales. They'll turn, or I should say churn.
Yeah.
And then after about the third or fourth team that comes through, somebody will finally in the exec staff go, man, do we have the right product? Wow, that's a novel conversation. Wow, that's so cool that we're having this 5 years after all the churn.
Does a company know how to answer the pushback on market conditions when you're forecasting, Carney? Do you guys like the Shoals?
No.
Anything like that? What does the stock market say? Like how?
No, I'm going to say no. No,
No, especially in today's economy, no way. Because
'cause
no
it's
one
tough.
knows why this is. I mean,
Well,
it's been a stale economy for 3 years.
I guess my point is there's nothing to predict the future? Zero? Then why is there Wall Street?
No, zero.
So are you saying in the
Wall
future
Street's
market,
gambling.
there is no risk? You're gambling on the salespeople. You're gambling, you're gambling on quotas that you wait till, okay, it's May. All right, we got enough that we can pay out these bonuses the way it is. It's all gambling.
Well, it's all manipulated.
The only thing it's all manipulated. The
It
only
is.
thing I do know is in a down economy, your warts in a business are exposed. In a good economy, those warts are covered up, right?
Yes.
But every company has warts, and a lot of times it's unpredictability of reps when the times get tough.
Why should
Because
it
they
take?
don't really. A lot of the reps are out there. There's a lot of people out there. Why should it take? Because there's a lot of people that buy. There
No,
are people that have bought shit that have never implemented shit because they just like to go out to dinner with their sales rep. And then the sales rep thinks, if I just take these guys out to dinner and take them to a ball game,
so why do
they're
we
going to
take
buy
out
from
to
me.
dinner?
When the economy gets tough and you actually got to prove, hey,
Because the
because
assumption
that's
is
how
the
they've grown
relationship.
up, Pete.
And Jamie, you bring up a real. I'm going to extend your comment, so to speak. So, and if I go back to the look, there's a lot of reps. If we tie this all together, that they're not really aspiring to make a crap ton of money. They're not, and so they want to
Do they
retain.
make the company money though?
They're looking at it like, look, I can't even tell you how many hundreds, if not thousands of times I've heard reps say that I know. And back room said to him, hey man, dude, we were in this QBR together. I don't think the two opportunities that you highlighted in the QBR are ever going to happen. And they've leaned into me and said, yeah, I know, but I got to show that I'm doing something. I got to show activity. And so that kind of rep, and my response to them has always been,
You're
hey,
fired.
no, you should quit. I mean, before the company
He's a
ever,
peer.
you
He
should
can't
quit.
fire
These,
him.
these are peers of mine, Pete. And so
Okay.
my thing is like, look,
And
good reps.
snitches get stitches, Pete.
By the
Snitches
way,
get stitches.
good reps think that 100% of quota attainment is failure. That's what they all think. They're pissed when they come in. At
Why are they
100%.
even thinking about that? Why does it take a year to get rid of a bad hire?
Well, a lot of it, I think.
Part of
Again, I'm going to
it's, dude,
talk
it
about
takes a
big
while.
companies.
It takes a little bit.
You-
Well, I would say a lot of it is you're inspecting. They're going through all the motions and stuff like that, and you're like, I really like this person. Then they get exposed over time, but it takes a while. And then there's also government. Like you got to put them on
I'm under
this.
the
You got to have
impression I got Steve Bosset.
rigid HR.
He can smell at a bad hire a mile
I
away.
can. Yep.
Okay.
Pete, I've had this discussion with some bosses of mine that I really, really like. And I've said, dude, Why don't we fire these two people? And one of the comments that I heard I thought was really interesting. Steve, why would I fire these two people? The company is making me have too many territories. My last two territories are dog shit. So the only rep that would ever take this is by definition a loser. So if I get rid of these two people, it's just going to create extra work for me. And the only person that would ever take this territory is somebody who's not going to be a good rep. So I'm going through the work of firing somebody who's not very productive to go hire somebody who's not very productive.
The assumption is that recruiting is bad.
No, the assumption is that companies.
Well, I mean,
let me say one thing, Jamie. The assumption for me is that in large companies that have been around for a couple decades or more, they've overextended, they've overhired, they've created more territories than are necessary. And when you create, regardless of your comp plan, when you create a bunch of bad territories, you're going to attract people who are happy with their salary. That's what you're going to attract. That's why I think this discussion is so poignant, because it's way more complicated than like commissions and risk versus stability and lining up with the corporate objectives.
Well, how much time is wasted on gaming the quotas, figuring them out, and then figuring out why you didn't get there, all that crap. And then
That's, yeah.
yeah.
Keep going.
Okay. How much time is wasted there? How much money, and I have some figures in mind here, to eliminate all of the people that are there to confirmation bias why it is or why it isn't. They can all go away.
Yep.
So what is the value of this game? Because what it's coming down to, it's a flip of a coin. Whether the company is going to win or the rep is going to win or the employees are going to win, because nobody fucking knows. And if nobody fucking knows, then share the risk with everybody and say, you know what? This is the market environment. If it's good, here's how everybody wins. If it's bad, here's how everybody loses. You know what to expect. Okay. The assumption is you're bringing good people in, and if they're not good, you're throwing something against the wall, see if it sticks. If it doesn't, you get rid of it quickly. These big boats that turn slowly, okay? I don't think Amazon plays that way. Amazon, AWS, whatever the hell you want to call it. Apple doesn't play that way. Tesla doesn't play that way. Google's starting to figure it out, okay? Now, keep in mind, those are all good products. So as you said,
Yeah.
you have to have a good product in a brand to operate it that way.
You do. And look, all great brands that you just said, and they're all product-led companies. They really are. And most companies are not. And so if you think about, what's common with all those companies, they're doing all the other things. Well, I look at it. They build great products. They have fabulous marketing teams. They have amazing leadership. So if we go back to the NFL example, they have great head coach. They have a defensive and offensive coordinator. All the subordinate coaches are awesome.
They have no antitrust.
There's an attention to detail on those companies that's just, they've separated themselves from everybody. And you look at, like, again, I've been in tech my whole life. Guys, there's so many companies. It's like, guys, here's what you should do. You should just close your doors. Your stuff is shit. There's nobody that wants it. It's 20 years old. What are you doing? And you're putting the execution all on the sales staff? That's insane to me.
no, I don't think we got to the answer though. Pay
The
at risk
answer of what?
or
Well, what does pay at
well,
risk mean?
do
Is
you
it a
agree?
gamble?
I think we have an answer. I mean, I have mine. I'm not budging on this.
Well, okay,
I have an answer. I'm in agreement with Steve.
I think that
Pete thinks we should just pay everyone everything and make everything.
yeah, I think it's a rest.
He wants a kumbaya moment.
I think it's mediocrity. I think it's a financed mediocrity.
I
Like
think you're
you're
accepting
never
the
going to
status
get.
quo. I don't accept the status quo. And it's not kumbaya. It's like, well, this is how it's always been. If you have that, and look, I just want to pay my mortgage and get by. I don't want to make waves. I know you guys aren't like that, but I mean, somebody's got to make a wave somewhere or it's crap, okay? If you choose to work at a company that isn't a good product, it's up to you to find a company that has a good product and you go.
100% agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. But look, the
Agreed. But if
again,
you're at a smaller company and Steve Bossett's, go ahead.
I was just going to say
Go
that
ahead, Steve.
this is more like, again, once you start peeling the onion back on how salespeople are compensated, then you have to look at a whole bunch of a lot of other things
Why
that
not? What are
that
the other things?
I think at a really high level, like again, there's way too many people relative to they've overstaffed everybody.
Do we know that's the case though?
We know that's the case. Yes. I emphatically, you can't find a tech company. Look, I mentioned this on one of our other discussions. After somewhere between 15 and 20 years, you start solidifying who your top customers are. If you're 20 years old as a company or older, and you're really good, like let's face it, some of these companies that certainly in the tech world that we didn't name are still very, very solid companies. And after 20 years, if a major company's not doing business with you, is it really a sales issue? I mean, the questions that have to be asked is, are the partnerships like, look, there's some examples of tech companies that collaborate with each other. They have really good co-selling environments at the CEO level. And there's impediments to other people trying to sell into those. Those are institutional things. You cannot solve that at the sales level. That's going to require the CEO getting off his or her butt and going in and having a CEO conversation to figure out, do the two companies want to start doing business together? You're not going to solve it at a frontline sales level. I mean, that's the craziness that goes on in the marketplace. Like, so when I look at that, the difference between a really, really good experienced rep that's secure in their ability to make money is they're going to do the proper evaluation and analysis, and they're going to say, at this company, I am not calling on account ABC. I'm just not. I'm not doing it because in 20 years, this company's never been successful selling to them. You don't have a plan in place to do this. Here are the 3 impediments that I've analyzed for doing business. And it's going to require our CEO. Is our CEO going to go do this? No. Then I'm not going in either. I mean, and so what ends up happening in the scenario that I just said? A shitty rep takes it and then drags a whole bunch of resources. And I ran one of my neighbors runs solution consulting, and we were talking on Sunday afternoon in front of my house, and he goes, Steve, I get dragged into these things all the time. And I'm like, yep. And I said, you and your group knows, like, the customer, the account rep, the propensity for the customer to buy, and that you're wasting your time. And he goes, yep, but I have to do it because the sales leader goes, your team has to support my account rep on this campaign. And he's like, we go down this rat hole for 9 months and it ends in no decision. And I can't say I told you so.
Here, I'll sum it up in this. Okay. You get that phone call, and I know everybody out there that if you've been around long enough, you've gotten the phone call. Hey, we missed. Dropped 15%.
Yep.
What 15% are getting dropped? And do those 15% know it's happening? Is it a surprise?
Look at all the tech companies that this is going on right now, right? For starters, if
Should
you
it be
work,
a surprise, Steve?
what's
Yes.
that?
Should it be a surprise to the bottom 15? You got to pick 15%. Should it be a surprise to those 15%?
No. But you're also assuming that the company's smart enough to drop the top 15%.
Well, I'm assuming that there's differentiation and there's not.
Well, you're assuming that the managers make really good decisions when they're told that they've got to cut 15%. And I'm going to go back to my loyalty because I've seen it. I've seen really, really good people get cut that shouldn't have been cut because the manager's like, I don't like this rep. This rep's been really good. This rep's been snubbing me. This rep's been telling me that I'm a piece of shit. And now the company's given me the perfect opportunity to get rid of them. I'm doing it. So I go back to the loyalty thing always gets in the way of doing the right thing because people are self-serving.
Agreed.
How
It always gets in the way. You're assuming that managers and executives want to wake up in the morning doing what's right for their company. I don't see it.
So there's no differentiation at a company who's good and who's bad. It's all subjective.
So I think there's an informal. I have a friend of mine. We've been talking about this for like a dozen years. You know where it exists? We call it the informal network, the shadow network. So when I go to a new, especially a large company, when I go in, I find out who the top reps are, and I get to hopefully 5 to 10 of them, and I have them walk me through who are the assets, who's good in pre-sales, who's good in product management, what executives do I ever want to put in front of a customer? And guess what? Their accuracy rate is super high. It's extremely high. It's nearly perfect. Managers, but what those top reps tell me and what my direct boss tells me are almost night and day. What my boss tells me at these companies typically is things like, Steve, we have to do this. We have to follow protocol. These are the people we have to work with. It's almost like a communist society, like socialism. We have to make
I thought
sure
I was socialist.
I don't want to hurt
You are.
the person who sucks that runs pre-sales. I don't want to hurt their feelings. I want to make sure that when they go to sleep tonight, that they're just warm and toasty in their bed and nobody's berated them.
Carney, how am I a socialist if I expect a certain amount of revenue to come in for the salary that I'm paying out that's in the top 5%? And if it's not brought in,
Well,
salary gets reduced.
all right, let's go through it in two scenarios, right? One issue is that one rep who doesn't bring in the amount of revenue, that's a lagging indicator of their performance, which means you're going to hold on to that person for 6 to 12 months. You could say, I'm going to get them all, I'm going to get rid of them all in 6 months.
No, I'm not.
Hold on. Let me finish.
No, you'll keep them a year.
The other thing is, what'd you say?
No, you'll keep them a year, maybe a year and a half.
Okay.
But I heard Steve, he knows that they're dead weight after 2 weeks.
All right. And then Steve gets paid $1 million and he brings in a $5 million deal that if he ran that through any normal comp plan, he would have been paid $2 or $3 million. Instead, we're taking $2 million off the top on a huge life-changing year that he could have done. And we're giving it to these shit cans that haven't done shit. And they're out there golfing while Steve's working his ass off. Right. And by the way, that's what happens. Right.
Okay, so we're playing
reps,
and he hit 00.
Reps are out there. And then when you hammer on saying, hey, we need to monitor your activity. You guys are inspecting me. That's not how it's done it everywhere else. They're going to go somewhere else where they can play the game, right? And you're going to bring in people here that you
Our
say,
top
hey, by the way,
players?
I'm ultimately capping your earnings.
I think so. Typically,
What'd you say?
I mean, look, Pete, to answer your question,
If they're bringing in more money, I'm going to pay them more. I already said I'm going to do that. So that's capitalistic, not socialistic. Not everybody's getting paid the same.
No.
Yeah, but like it's.
No, because
if one makes
a ton of money and
Look, there's a reason why disruptors are being disrupted. What would this do to recruiting if you knew that you went in there and you were getting paid top 5% of the market no matter what? But the caveat is you have to bring in, it's all out on the table. Can you do it? Yes or no? Okay, what is the metric to make sure that the person isn't failing? Well, if it's a top level rep that's been recruited that's coming in, you don't really have to spend that much managerial time on them, do you?
You're talking about, let me shift. Let's take another way of looking at this.
All right. One that's not my way.
No. Every company that I've worked for that's had a CAD, a key account director,
Yeah.
generally speaking, they weren't that good of salespeople, generally speaking, because it's a persona difference. They value the relationship with that account. I met because I had a breakthrough, and I met with one of the top one of the key account directors at one of my companies, and she said, "Steve, I've been selling to that same customer for 20 years across multiple companies. I work for the customer, not for my company." And I'm like, that's the CAD thing. That's sort of the behavior you get. And so when I look at it, I go, what is it you want? I think that under this whole comp and all of this discussion, people want their cake and eat it too. They want to basically be able to control the reps, dictate what they do or don't do, dictate what infrastructure they use or don't use, and then they want the revenue. And I'm sorry, it's like you got to hire people that are willing to, go down in the tunnel and do stuff that nobody wants to see done in the light of day.
Yeah, our old guy Bob Montgomery used to say you get paid in this world for two things: doing something people don't want to do, or doing something people can't. Shaquille O'Neal, not many people could have been him at the time.
I agree.
And no one wants to be a rep that gets told to
you
F
know
off all
something
the
that
time.
nobody else knows, or you're willing to do something that nobody else wants to do. So if you're a BDR, you're willing to make the crap calls. Okay, great. But a lot of people can do that. You're not paid a lot for it. So the skill, for whatever you want to call it, strategic account exec, whatever the fancy title is, the skill is I'm buying a revenue stream. That's what all businesses are doing. That's what we all do in life. We are buying revenue streams and we're placing bets. Okay. What I'm saying is to pay a lower risk bet than what we're doing now. The odds are 50-50 now, whether it's going to happen. Right?
I would say there's a lot of money that's being put out not to buy the revenue stream.
Yeah.
In other words, look, I'm always going to defer to the non-revenue accounts.
Yeah.
Right. And established companies have way too many resources chasing accounts that they're not in, and or trying to do additional business in an account that they just did a mega deal. And I'm telling you, it's predictable. You're not going to get revenue out of those accounts relative to the energy and resources you put in.
And I think what we haven't brought up is where is this business? What life stage are they in? Are we in cash cow where nobody wants to meet, like are we the newspapers where we just want to have the cash coming in without doing anything? Or we're at the growth stage? Unfortunately, the salary will work at all stages. But if you're just the cash coming in and your cost center is subsidizing another one, that's a whole another ball game. But I think it's low volatility, low risk, hidden expenses. When I say hidden expenses, Jamie, when the budgets were done in August, oh, that's a low sales cost. But what really was the sales cost? Okay, because you fucked around with the quotas, you screwed salespeople over, they quit, they go hopped out somewhere else, and it's costing you anyways. Right, Carney?
I just thought of something.
Disagree with that.
Hey.
Fucked up the quotas is.
Hey, Pete.
All reps say that.
Pete, you want to change behavior?
Yeah.
The way to do it is You tell
Fire.
the CRO, you have two objectives. You have to make the number, and you have to get to a percentage of a high percentage of your reps have to make their number, or you get dinged. So in other words, like when I look at the model now, there's no penalty to the CRO for hiring too many people. There's zero penalty. But if you flip the script and said, okay, because one of the companies I've worked for, year over year, had almost 80% of the reps not selling anything. Not only not making their number, they don't sell anything. So the company makes their number and pats the head of sales on the back and says, good job. And I'm like, no, it's not a good job. 80% of the reps didn't sell anything. We're talking about thousands of reps. This is coming out of your pay.
All right, let me put this in front of you guys to end.
Why?
We hire you, we pay you 6 months full OT for 6 months or a year, whatever you want. After that, you go to a 40% commission plan. Typical base rates are around 10
keeps
to
you
15%, and you have zero salary. The exact opposite, Pete.
Okay. Is that what
would you take that, Pete? Would you take that, Steve? 40% base rate after a year. No
Maybe.
salary.
Depends on the company and the role, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's more lucrative.
But also, I would want it in my contract that says there's no clawbacks, carve-outs, right?
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, what look,
there's no funny.
How much time is wasted on that? Come on.
A ton. But
how much money do you think?
I get a really good friend of mine who, it was funny, he was never in tech, and we always laugh because he was selling the multi-million-dollar tractors. And he said to me when we got not too many years after college, and he said, I just got my comp plan, and at the time it's like 15 pages. And he said, anything longer than 2 or 3 pages is the company trying to figure out how to screw me and not pay me.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you that the last, one of the companies I've worked for had 80 to 90 page T's and C's. 80 to 90 pages. And I can tell you most reps don't read it. I read it. And there's just multiple ways. And it's 80 pages of conditions under which the company will not pay you. I mean, tell me that's motivational.
How expensive is churn, Carney?
Do we lose him?
Yeah, we did lose him.
No, I'm here.
I've seen the number as high as...
It's a normal course of business.
Oh, okay, great. And the normal course of business to manage churn and also to manage all the facilities you need in place to manage this game can be up 35, 40% of a budget.
But without plugging my
current churn no matter what.
It's a strategy. You can pay less to have a shitty product and have high churn and have high training costs, high HR. It's a strategy. So I'm saying, why not have a strategy by paying up front, know what the costs are. Sales and marketing is under the same leadership. That means that you know why you're adding another person, because you're adding a human, because you can't get it alternatively through Google or another marketing source, correct?
Pete, we're already doing some of this with draws. What is a draw?
Okay.
It's basically guaranteed income.
Yeah. Till you
It's
get
a
up
temporary guaranteed income.
Yeah.
Until you get up and running. And we're supposed to get rid of you after the draw if you're not up and running.
I mean, look,
we don't.
The best reps will always sign up for, I'm going to say, the highest risk on comp. And let's tie it back to some of the scenarios we've talked about. I've mentored younger reps who finally cracked the 7-figure thing, and they've said, I just had this conversation a couple days ago. Guy says, I don't think my management's not I think my management's not happy with me. Why? Why a 7-figure year? Yeah, they're not happy with you.
Good
'Cause you
rep's always going to be a good rep. They want to be
But-
recognized and paid well.
but he was, look, this guy's in his like late 30s, and it's the first time he's had a 7-figure year, and he's good. I've been mentoring him, and he gets better and better year over year. And I said, look, here's the thing. Your bosses are largely duplicitous. They want the revenue. But when you have a 7-figure plus year, they're pissed off. They're pissed. They're like, this little shit is making $1 million a year, and I'm so much better. I'm so much more important. I don't like it. They won't tell him this, but he's getting a little bit of the cold shoulder. And I've seen it over and over and over again.
Who wants to take the risk? That's all.
Yeah, pay the guy.
Pay,
He took the risk.
pay that money's money. Why should there be that risk? That's all I'm saying. Carney, go do your fancy meeting there, dude.
Was that
I know, look at how stylish he looks
impersonation
today,
of
huh?
Rounders? I know, right? I know. I
Yeah,
my
Jamie,
Allbirds
I haven't
on.
seen you.
Yeah,
I didn't
look
know.
at
I
that.
didn't know you
got
could.
everybody play the game like 90% of the rest of the people out there that, all right, I'm going to find somebody that has a better game and bounce around versus stick around in the place. That's all.
But I think
All right.
there's a middle ground. I think that,
I haven't heard it.
yeah, because
What?
nobody's like, I think it goes to
Today, Junior.
it goes to the leadership of the company on what their objectives are.
Exactly. And that's why at the beginning, you have to have strong leadership. Maybe we need a CFO on here to bang this thing out. Why this can't get through budgetary.
All right, let's do
All right,
that.
Smiley, bye.